welcome to my channel. I'm making my second alternative Valentine's card today. This is one that's going to be sent out to my son. I'm starting out with some Distress Oxides, and I want to do sort of a spacey kind of background. So I've got Iced Spruce, which was the first colour I put down, Faded Jeans, this is Seedless Preserves, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of Black Soot just to sort of darken everything up a little bit. My ink pads are really juicy. I don't know if that's normal or whether or not where I'm storing them at the moment is very cold room, so I don't know if that's having an impact, but I'm finding that actually I can't get anything subtle with these at the moment. They're just really solid, but for this background it worked perfectly. So I'm going around the edges with the Black Soot and just sort of having a little bit over the top just to dull it down slightly. Then I'm sprinkling that with water from my Distress sprayer and using my hands to get some different size droplets and things. I wanted to put a few white splatters, so this is Picket Fence Distress Paint. I haven't diluted it or anything, I just splashed it onto the background. Now I want to make a moon to go into my little spacey scene, so I've just drawn around the circle die that I plan to cut this out with so that I'm not colouring in space that I don't need to colour in basically. So I've gone in with Antique Linen and Wild Honey. Now I'm not trying to get a good blend on this, I'm now going in with Hickory Smoke to give it sort of a darker thing. Bit of water splashing, obviously the moon is going to be quite mottled and things, so that was where I was going with that. This stamp set is MFT's Space Explorer. Now it's been out for a very long time, this one, but it's still one of my favourites. I'm colouring him up with the N grey tones, excuse me. So I'm starting off with my N5, which is my darkest, and then my N3, and then finishing off in the highlight with the N1. I had a few problems with these Copics. Most people would not think that having over juicy supplies would be a problem, but I beg to differ, because as I come in a moment to do the little boots on the Spaceman, the ink has literally just dripped off the end of my marker pen. And it's just splodged. I am using £80 cardstock, so whether or not that's got something to do with it, but you can see here where I'm trying to pick it up now and just spreading it further. So I've gone in with my colourless blender to try and clean up the edges a little bit. But yeah, I could not get over how much ink just was coming out of the bottom of the marker. So I've decided to just move on and just sort of ignore it for a moment. Going in and doing the hair and the face. I've put the markers on the screen so you know which ones I am using. I'm not quite sure where I was going with the highlights and where light was. I was just colouring it in. But here we go, that's how juicy. I can just flick it and ink comes out of it. It's crazy. These ones are quite new, actually. They're the newest ones in my collection. And I've not used my markers for a very long time, so I realised that I am completely out of practice. So I think I need to go in and give myself a bit more colouring practice with all my mediums, to be honest. I've got the Prisma pencils, which I haven't used in ever such a long time. I've just ordered some of the blending stumps and some Gamsol off of Amazon last night, because I quite like the look that gives the pencils and makes them sort of smoother and more blended. So I'm going to be giving that a try actually in the next few weeks once that arrives. Colouring in the balloons. Going for nice, just bright, bold primary colours for this one, leaving again that little bit of highlight up in the top corner, which actually when I put this card together is the completely wrong place because the moon is at the bottom and not at the top. So, but do you know what? I don't think anyone really notices unless you point it out to them. So here I am cutting out my pieces. I've cut the moon out with the circle. That's the nested circles from Simon Says Stamp. The galaxy panel I cut out with, it was the MFT's Blueprints 13. I really do like that big circle, that big rectangle that comes in the die set. It just leaves a little white border. So now I'm putting all this together and I've realised my moon just looks a little bit too crisp and bright. So I've brought in some frayed burlap and just to sort of darken that up a little bit. And again, just see, I put this, barely touched the blender foam to the ink and it managed to pick up so much. I'm just going to stick that down. I'm only doing it partially. I only want the one sort of section of the moon popping through. I don't want it to dominate the card completely. And then just going over the edges again with the frayed burlap even. And then I'm just doing a little bit more white water splatter over the top. And I like actually how it makes it look like there's some nice really big craters going on my moon. My little space guy is just being glued down with some Ranger multi-matte medium. And these little stars I actually had left over from a project a long time ago and I'd coloured them up and I just slot them, any leftover bits, in the packaging. So come in handy for days like today. My card base is basic grey from Stampin Up and I cut that to the American sized A2 cards, which is effectively our A5 folded in half, and then I just cut the little strip off the bottom because it just overhangs a little bit. All of these dies, because they're American based dies, they're all made specifically for their size of cards, and their A4 isn't, I mean, they don't have A4, is it letter sized? But it's not the same as our A4. So when I'm making card bases with A4 paper, I always just cut that little extra bit off so that it fits the dies better. I'm now using the Nouveau Drops in Simply White to do a few more white stars, and then covering the whole visor area of his little helmet with the grey mist, which is a translucent one, but it just gives a little bit of subtle colour so that it looks like it's glass. It wouldn't be glass, would it? It'd be plastic, perspex or something, whatever they make their visor with. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Goodbye.